Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of the show. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle, and today we're going to have a real special focus on nonprofit marketing tips and strategies. A little workshop with three speakers, and the first speaker is Angela, and she is with Philosophy Communication. She's an account manager. Second speaker is John Thomas with Alphagraphics. He's Vice President of Sales and Marketing. And before I bring them on, I'm just going to read their bios so that we can know a little bit more about who we're talking with. Angela is best known for her stellar media relationships, impeccable writing, and strategic planning skills, and she's an account manager and fueled with passion, energy, and the right tools to teach business goals and help businesses reach each one of the goals that they have. And when we say business, we mean business, nonprofit, any place that needs a platform to put their message out there. John is Vice President of Sales and Marketing with Alphagraphics here in town, and he has he's integral to the success of companies because he implants himself within the ethos of a company. He's worked with companies such as Marriott Hotels, United Airlines, Strategic Marketing Group, and the Hertz Corporation. And with that, I welcome both of you to the call, and let's get started with Angela. Let's just hear a little bit about what you would recommend to nonprofits if they're thinking about marketing and getting their message out to their constituency.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you again so much for having me today. I think the most important thing to remember when you're promoting your nonprofit on social media is that social media is really a conversation. And so today I hope to offer our listeners some strategies to move beyond the like and simple cute cat videos. Social media is really not something that is siloed, something that really should be integrated into nonprofits' overall communication and digital strategy. So I have 5 tips that I'd like to share today. The first one being to really understand your audience on social media. Remember that on your platforms, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, it's not necessarily all about your organization. It's really about what your audience is interested in. And that mindset will really help nonprofits figure out who their target audience is, what their interests are, and what they care about, and that will help them craft content appropriately. So a couple questions to ask include, where do they get their information about issues that your nonprofit addresses? How are they currently finding your organization? And what kind of information are they searching for? What kind of things are they posting on social media? And overall, what do you find that they're interested in? There are various monitoring tools that nonprofits can implement to find out who their target audience is. These free monitoring tools can help you track, what kind of keywords they're looking for when looking for organizations like yours. And Google Analytics is probably one of the best and most well-known tools out there to help you identify that demographic information. And then based on those questions and the answers to those questions that I talked about earlier, you can start to develop audience personas. Those are really just representations of who your ideal supporters are. And that, again, is based on a combination of the demographic data you find from using Google Analytics, as well as information about individual members of your target audience. So those are the first 2 things that I would encourage nonprofits to think about is where your audiences are, and then defining different personas for them. Interesting statistic, more than 74% of nonprofits actually use social media as a megaphone, announcing news and events, which is pretty typical, I would say. But something to think about as you figure out what your audience is interested in is really posting issue-centric content. This will help establish thought leadership within your nonprofit organization. And there are several different ways that you can find issue-centric content. two specifically on Twitter include hashtag social60 and hashtag SM4NP. That stands for social media for nonprofits. And then another tip that I wanted to offer in terms of understanding your audience is also looking at what other like-minded nonprofits are doing on social media. See what kind of content they're posting, and then use your Facebook or Twitter business page to comment and like and share their content as well if it's appropriate. This will just keep your organization top of mind with their audience, and then hopefully their audiences will see your organization as a thought leader as well. And then finally, another audience tip is also to teach your volunteers to amplify your messages as well, really getting them to kind of be the brand advocates for your organization and share their experiences to your audiences as well. The second tip I have for you is to pick the right platform. Something that I think nonprofits may think is that they have to be on every social media platform that goes out there. And that is definitely not the case. There is no need to be on all networks all the time. As nonprofits probably know, social media is extremely time-consuming. And so if you're spread pretty thin across different social media networks, you're not really dedicating the time and attention that each of those networks need to really, again, just cultivate solid relationships online and really have conversations with your target audiences. So really my advice would be to choose networks that are based on where your audience is most engaged. In this case, it's more about quality and quality conversation and quality engagement with your audiences rather than quantity. The third tip I have for you is to have a plan and a policy to guide your social media efforts. 47% of nonprofits actually believe that the pinnacle of social media engagement for them is a donation. And that data was from 2013. So it's probably actually a little higher than that 47% range now. So in order to compose a plan and a policy, the first thing you'll want to think about is what your goals and objectives are. Your plan and your policy can also outline your personality and tone for how you want to come across on your social media platforms. Do you want to be humorous? Do you want to be serious? Do you want to be educational, informative, so on and so forth? Your plan can also outline responsibilities. Who within your organization is responsible for what? If you're like some of the nonprofits that I work with, there may just be one person that handles all social media efforts, and that's a big job. So having a plan and a policy in place that really outlines who's going to post what and when and on which platform just help create a formalized strategy for your efforts going forward. Your plan can also include do's and don'ts, again, offering a gentle reminder to everyone on your staff, you are representing the organization, and so therefore it's important to be mindful that whatever you do post, whether on your personal page or through the organization's business pages and accounts, that you're a representation and a reflection of the company as a whole. And so having those kinds of concepts and ideas laid out in a formal plan will be really beneficial for you and help guide your social media efforts in the long run. An editorial calendar is my fourth tip for our nonprofit listeners today. Your editorial calendar is something that I do with all of my clients, and it will save you a ton of time in the long run. Again, social media is really time-consuming, and so a calendar that really outlines, a date and time that you're going to post, what you're going to post, where, and any images or multimedia content within that calendar will all help you have a plan for the entire month, the entire quarter. And so if you really take the time to spend, 2 to 3 hours every month putting a calendar together with recommended content, it will save you a lot of time in the long run. And 2 questions you can actually ask yourself to guide your content creation include: what problems do people have in their own lives when trying to live out the values they share with your organization? And the second question is, what tips or tools can you give them that will make their lives easier as they try to be a better environmentalist, animal lover, parent, so on and so forth? Whatever your nonprofit organization is really driven towards in that regard. So editorial calendar is very, very key to social media success there. And then along with that, my fifth tip would be to really get visual. Visual content is known and has been known for a long time to increase engagement much more so than just text-based posts and text-based content. So there are several different tools that nonprofits can use. Some are a little addicting, and those visual tools will really help set your content apart from other nonprofits perhaps in your area, in your region, and again, just really create compelling visual content that your readers will see as educational and informative and visually appealing. So some of the tools that I recommend that I've used before, if you're looking to create infographics that have some really compelling data and facts, can serve as a great educational tool, include visual.ly. Dollar Photo Club is also a stock imagery website that you can purchase photos for $1 and customize them as you see fit. This will help prevent any copywriting or licensing issues, which is something to consider. PicMonkey is another one. It's PICMONKEY. That's a really fun tool. You can actually lay text over your images and create some fun, Monday motivation quotes for your Facebook page. If you're doing a donor highlight and you want to have a picture of your donor interacting with some of your constituents and you want to put some fun icons or graphics over that image, PicMonkey will allow you to do that for free as well. And then my final and most favorite visual content creator is called WordSwag, WordSwag. It's all one word, and it's actually a mobile app. You can download it on iPhone or Android, I believe, for about $1.99, maybe $2.99, and it creates text overlays as well. So you can take photos right on your phone, you can upload them to WordSwag, and then really lay over some neat visuals and quotes that really take your picture to the next level. So those are my tips for you, understanding your audience, picking the right platform, knowing that you don't have to be on all of them, having a plan and a policy in place, an editorial calendar to schedule out your content month over month, and then remembering to get visual.
Awesome. Now, when we three did this presentation live for the Chamber a couple weeks back, after you spoke, you had numerous questions from the audience. So what I would like to do is have you give what's the best way to reach you by email or website or phone, whatever you prefer, for people that if they have a question, they can go deeper on any one of these tips, because obviously just hearing all of that, no one is going to implement it 100% right away. So they're always going to have some need some guidance. So what's the best way to reach you?
Correct. The best way to reach me would be via email. You can reach me at Shugarts, that's SHUGARTS, at philosophycommunication.com.
Excellent. So thank you for that, and hang with us here in case we have any thoughts as we continue on, because my section is next, and then we'll wrap it up with John. My name is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle, and I am a marketing consultant, and I help small businesses expand their brand and get their message optimized out there with reputation and authority positioning, with just a lot of different and unique ways to set themselves apart from the competition. So my 5 tips is number 1, have a story. So actually have a story that you can tell about your business. And a lot of times it's called an elevator pitch or, a 60-second commercial. It's called many things, but basically when someone asks you, what do you do? Or tell us about your organization, you can't just say, oh, well, our nonprofit does, boom. have some way, some compelling way to explain what you do to that person. And they might not be initially a donor, but invariably something's going to resonate with someone. And when you say that same story over and over again with maybe a good example or a testimonial, that really helps them to drive it home and elicits an emotional response many times. So crafting that story, having that story is number one. And then the tip number two is to actually tell your story. So how can you, once you've gotten that polished up, how can you tell your story? Well, you could pick up the phone and make 100 calls and tell your story. Well, that's no fun. You could go to networking events. And, there's various ways that you can do it. So think then of what resonates with you best, that you would be willing to do. Do you know that there are literally people out there that actually love to pick up the phone and make cold calls to people? If that's you, then do that and tell your story that way. But maybe you like to write and communicate that way. So start a blog. And, if you just Google how to start a blog, you can find a lot of free resources on how to do that and how to do it well. You can even just type up a monthly newsletter that has some compelling stories and examples and tips from the nonprofit on how you can, better be served by their services. And then tip number 3 is to prove your story. So you have to have the story first, then you need to tell it, then you need to prove the story. And proving it is just a statistic, it's called social proof. Basically, don't you all listeners agree that if you go looking for a restaurant or a whatever, just fill in the blank with some service that you need, we have all Googled it and looked for online reviews. So how can you get feedback from your donors and your the people that you even serve to give their story back to you in the form of many forms? It may be a post on your website, it may be a tweet, it might be on your social media, it may be an audio testimonial, a video testimonial, but get the social proof. If someone is a donor and they can give a testimonial that says, I had was not even thinking of donating money this year to anyone, but wow, when I heard and when I saw and when I experienced and when I was able to, put myself in the shoes of the people that this nonprofit serves, all of a sudden it became real. So when you can have them prove your story, that's very, very powerful. And then tip number 4 is to expand your story. Meaning, how can you take that story that you are telling and that your donors and the people you serve are telling? So there's now different layers of your story, this message. How can you get it out there? And many times there's numerous platforms that you can use to expand your story. And that leads us into tip number 5, which is just a couple examples of how you can expand your story. Number 1 example would be just getting some of those feedbacks and reviews down pat, whether it's a request for someone to email in a testimonial of what it's been like to receive from the nonprofit, or as a donor, what you get out of it as a feel-good and giving back to the community. So getting that down in written format, or maybe you prefer, maybe you're a very visual type of a person, so you would want them to send in a picture, or maybe even you visit them at their office or their location and you pull out your smartphone and get a quick little video testimonial. But don't just get that testimonial. Have some ways that you can market that review, that testimonial. And by doing that, everyone should have their own email list, and it doesn't matter if it's 10 people on it or 1,000 people on it. You need to be able to communicate to people by email, because no matter what fancy gadget is out there, people still read their emails. And I heard a quote recently, or an example recently, from a marketing guru. His name is Seth Godin, and he answered the question, how should you write when you send out emails? And his recommendation is write like you talk. So a lot of people talk very casually, and then when they send out an email, it's all highfalutin and highbrow, and it's like, who's this? If you can write how you talk, now all of a sudden it's a conversation. So take those reviews and the feedback, and let's say you got into this week from people. Email them out to your list and say, hey, we love hearing stories like this. Here's a couple that came in, and hope this encourages your day. So being able to do that is really, really powerful. Secondly, as a nonprofit, you could start a podcast. And if you do any research, or if you get any emails yourself or cruise around on Google, you see podcasting on iTunes, and so many people out there are listening to podcasts, and it's everything from cooking to self-improvement to anything. So why not have a nonprofit podcast focused on the area and the vertical that you're in, the people that you serve? And when you hear the word podcast, it sounds daunting, but in reality, it could be as simple as setting up a phone line, a free phone line with a service like freeconferencecall.com. And again, that is free. And then you just have your person that you are going to interview call into the line, you record it, and now you have a recording of your conversation. And now that becomes your podcast. And you can get some tools on how to get it out there to iTunes. It's not hard. It's just a couple little steps. And so many people want to consume your story, want to take it in. Maybe someone doesn't like to read as much, but the other person might like to hear. So if you can deliver that story to people in multiple formats, and then again, depending on how you structure getting your story out, if you have started a series of blog posts and maybe writing articles and newsletters, at some point down the road, you could take those and compile them into a series, and now you have a larger PDF document. Maybe it followed a flow of thought, and now you organize these posts or articles into a document and convert it into PDF, and then there is a specific process, but it's not as hard as people think. You can then get that published on Amazon. And now all of a sudden, this nonprofit that is helping and serving their community is a published author on Kindle, on Amazon. And now that's another way for their donors to help spread the word, because they can say, hey, this nonprofit that I support, they just came out with their new book. You ought to check it out. So those are my 5 tips, and I think that it just really is something that you cannot feel like it is overwhelming, because you have to take it one step at a time. And being able to just take a small step and work on one thing. And let's say that you picked up 2 things from Angela's talk and 1 thing from mine and 3 things from John's. Great. Make that list, and it might be that your whole next year's marketing plan is to implement those handful of things. You don't need to get it done all at once. You don't need to be an expert all at once, because Les Brown is a famous motivational speaker, and he says, jump and grow your wings on the way down, which means just get started. Fail a little bit, mess up, and learn, because that's part of the process. So that's what I would recommend in my tips. And then if we can now move on over, John, what would some of your tips be for helping to market a nonprofit? Okay, it seems like John is not with us, but what we wanted to make sure that we have is, John, is that you?
Yep.
Okay, good.
No, I was just saying that it's an easy transition to go from Mike's and Angela's presentation, because print easily integrates into the marketing strategy of both programs. So as I follow the same lines, nonprofits should perform an organization self-assessment. They should determine their current audience, whether it's from a donation standpoint or a volunteer standpoint, or to evaluate their current materials and tools, whether it's to enhance their current look, provide pop, change the copy, or make more of an impact. The second of my 7 tips today is to set goals and strategy. Simply sit down and set goals and objectives that you know are realistic and reachable from a print standpoint. So as you integrate Mike's presentation and Angela's presentation into your marketing and sales strategy, you have to take a look at some of the financial objectives and goals that you want to determine. The donations, whether it's a higher level or a medium level. You also want to see if your impact is volunteer driven. You want to outline your strategy and tactics. regardless of what they are, you want to sit down with others and you want to determine what the outline is of your strategy and tactics is going forward. In print, along with social and other mechanisms in marketing strategy, you need to develop a demographic data. So you need to determine, while you have social media and multimedia in nature, you have direct mail, you have brochure development, you have print. So you have to measure your demographic base to make sure if they're reachable by social or if they can be reached by print. Determine the unique value of your nonprofit. Understand what differentiates yourself from other nonprofits. Take a look at them. Socially go on their web and review them, but also look at their marketing materials in print to understand how they're delivering their message to their base. Also, you want to find your brand sweet spot. Where do you fit? How do you promote yourself? What events do you do? And then you want to craft your message. By print, you can do this a myriad of different ways. And whether it's poster-driven, it's rack card-driven, it's window cling-driven, there are lots of ways to craft your message and distribute the information to your customer base, whether current or prospective. Number 5, choose your tools. Determine online and offline tactics. We've talked about today the great multimedia, conversation, and social platforms. Print delivers another form of distribution that would assist you in reaching another market. So you want to determine in choosing your tools which one will have, if not all three, the best return on investment. So you want to define your budget. Reason number 6, defining your budget, your timeline, and your resources is you want to outline your budget for each marketing activity. As difficult as this may sound, it's actually easy to adhere to. You just want to make sure in your social environment, your multimedia and promotion, and your print is that you live by your budget and you deliver with return on investment. Create a marketing calendar. Probably one of the biggest challenges we're presented with is nonprofits want to really do an awful lot, but they have no calendar of events or timeline. So we have to sit down and slow down the process and ask them short-term and long-term what they like to achieve, how they like to deliver their message. So I would recommend developing a calendar 30, 60, 90, and 120 days out. If you want to do a whole year, that's an additional benefit. And assign responsibilities. We're all chief cook and bottle washers within the nonprofit industry, but we have a volunteer base. You should use them. A lot of them come from professional businesses. They have great talent. You should utilize it. Also, you have employee depth. If you have it, you should use it also. We all can't do everything, but explore the opportunities of some services, whether through the Arvada Chamber or through other mechanisms that could assist in reaching the goals and objectives you want to reach in order to provide outreach for your nonprofit. And then very last, number 7, track and measure your results. One of the most important is to track results to best understand if you can move off of the roadmap that you've created within your calendar. You have to remain pliable. Some things will work, some things may not, but you're pliable enough to entertain differences and changes within the environment, whether print or social, related, or other programs. And develop timelines. Make sure you make timelines that keep you relatively close. And measure your progress. The most important, whether you've gained volunteer base, whether you've gained donation base, whether event-driven, whether program-driven, educational, always measure your progress. Print, regardless, should be fully integrated into a nonprofit's marketing strategy. Whether a small percentage or a large percentage, it should always be utilized. Once again, we thank you for the opportunity for Alphagraphics to present today. Thank you.
Well, thank you, John. And, I'm going to expand on your last statement that print should be integrated in with your marketing budget, but I will take it one step further and say print should be integrated in with your other marketing channels as well. And here's what I mean. Let's say that you have a Facebook page. With anything you do, you want engagement and feedback, and you want your followers on your Facebook or your Twitter to do something. You don't just want it to be a static, stagnant page. So let's say that you run a fun contest, hey, here's a picture, caption this. Well, that's wonderful and great to do that. But what if you ran that in conjunction with a print media drop, a mail drop? So whatever your main purpose of the mailing was, have a pretty large focus of that mailing to also be, hey, we're running a fun thing over on our Facebook page. Make sure you come over and maybe put a picture of the caption this thing. Here's our caption this contest, and the person with the best caption, we're going to give a certificate to a local restaurant. Well, the cool thing is with the local restaurant, they might be a donor to your organization anyway, and they're going to donate that certificate, so it doesn't cost you money. But what do you think, or what have you seen where a print media drop feeds into another marketing channel to drive engagement?
Well, we have several clients that use this type of environment that you brought up, a marketing channel, as you so eloquently put it. But whether you put things on Facebook like we do every day, we utilize social media every day into our marketing strategy. And then we follow up from a print segment, whether it's poster related, card related, rack card related, we always follow up. There's never an opportunity, I think, that we pass up that you can't deliver a marketing channel from a social standpoint where you can't promote it well within a client's initiative into a print concept. So we're more than happy to show any of the work we've done and show examples on our website, www.ag5280.com.
Neat. Awesome. And I think that's where the true kind of power comes, to amplify your message, because if you just did one thing or just did another thing, it would be effective, but I think you get a kind of an amplifying effect when you bank one against the other. Angela, any thoughts on that concept of using one marketing channel to even draw attention to another? And it might even be reverse. Let's think of it the other way. You send out a tweet or a Facebook message going, hey, guys, watch your mailbox. This week we've got a special thing coming, and you're going to get a chuckle when you open up that, your mailbox one day this week. And all of a sudden, now obviously you need to make sure that you're descriptive, because if you put it out on Twitter and it's like someone reads it and it's not my mailbox, but maybe you have a following and you go, hey, all of our, VIPs, make sure that you watch. What is your thoughts on having two different channels pyramid off of each other?
I highly recommend it. I know that one of the accounts that we work on for natural grocers and also Colorado Proud through the Department of Agriculture, we're making sure that whatever conversations are happening on social media, that those are somehow reflected in both the verbal conversations that we have with customers and consumers, as well as what we put out in print material as well. And I would also recommend it because you're going to reach different audiences in each channel, right? So maybe you have an older demographic that is more receptive to receiving print materials with a specific message that tells your unique story. And maybe you have a different audience that hangs out on Twitter. So I think it's a great way to leverage, both platforms and reach multiple audiences, but sharing the same message.
Exactly. Excellent point. Excellent wrap up. And what I would say as one final thought to everyone is to do something and to do it consistently. You can't just try, and then start and stop. Pete, your sphere of influence needs to see you doing things consistently. So when you're hearing these tips and you pick one or two that you feel like, I could do that consistently. I can write that newsletter. I can do that Facebook campaign. The Motivational Monday, even if I don't do much the whole rest of the week, but maybe, one or two little tweets, but I can do a really fun Motivational Monday message. So pick something that you can do and can do consistently. So that would be something to wrap all of these three thoughts up. And I would just like to also say that the Arvada Chamber cares about nonprofits, cares about their members. We are all three Arvada Chamber members, and so whatever resources and help we can provide, please reach out to the Chamber, go over to the website, look at the member directory, and let us know or other members know what your needs are, because we're here to help each other. So with that, I will wrap up and thank you guys for your insights and knowledge today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us very much.
You're so welcome.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.